You're listening to Cars and Coffee, your local home for IndyCar, Formula One, and sports car racing news.
Here on 91.3 WHJE.
And now, here's your host, Nathan Ward. Hello, and welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. It is a cool 0 degrees outside this very, very chilly Sunday morning, and I have a lot of news. This is the final show that we are doing here before winter break, so wish everyone good luck on their finals this week and that everyone finishes the year strong. But getting right into the news, before we do so, if you want to get in touch with the show, I'm always looking for more guests. Please message me on Instagram at carsandcoffee_WHJE. You can listen live anywhere at WHJE.com as well. And if you haven't followed the station on Instagram, go follow WHJE_radio. So jumping right into the headlines, with the withdrawal of Porsche Penske Motorsport from the World Endurance Championship, the Porsche customer team in that series, Proton Competition, also announced that it will not be able to expand to 2 cars to fulfill the rule that the WEC set in for no clear reason, that each hypercar manufacturer has to have 2 cars entered. But it's over for Proton in the WEC, at least for now. If Porsche does end up returning, that could open up a slot for Proton to come back with 1 car as they had this year, but they are plotting an IMSA return. They ran a partial Endurance Cup schedule last year, but they had to cut that short after a crash at Watkins Glen damaged their tub that they had reserved for use in North America. They are most likely going to take the car that they were going to use in WEC, bring it over here, and outfit it for some IMSA races later in the season. They will not make the 2026 Rolex 24, as the entry list for that race is maxed out at 61 cars. We had a car reveal this past week. Toyota revealed its brand new GR-GT3 alongside its GR-GT road car variant. This car is going to be the replacement for the Lexus RCF GT3, which actually won the WEC season finale at Bahrain at the end of November. That car is old. It is the only GT3, I think, from that original crop of modern GT3s that has not received an Evo kit at all. It has not been updated in any major capacity since 2015. That is an old car, yet it's still competitive, but it's going to be replaced, at least in Super GT, the Japanese Grand Touring Car Championship. The GR-GT3 will run some select races this year in Super GT and will have a global debut in 2027. So this year is going to be the last hurrah for a fan favorite, very, very old GT3 car, that being the Lexus. Something that came way out of left field the other day was an actual, substantial announcement from Vanwall, i.e. Baikalus Racing Team, that they want to enter the hypercar class in the Asian Le Mans Series in 2027. Now, this is something that was kind of expected, because this new hypercar class in Asia was meant for smaller teams, smaller efforts, amateur drivers. It was meant for them to get a chance to race hypercars against each other and not have to go against the big factory efforts from Porsche, Ferrari, Cadillac, all of those manufacturers, because let's face it, they're not going to win those fights. So Vanwall coming back, I'm looking at this the press release on Sports Car 365 right now. They want to come back at least with 1 car in the Asian Le Mans Series and rehomologate their car for the WEC, because at the end of 2023 they ended their relationship with their previous engine supplier, Gibson, and switched to a twin-turbo V8, or they wanted to switch to a twin-turbo V8 that was used in another hypercar. But Vanwall's 2024 entry was rejected because of how slow they were in 2023. They could barely keep up with the LMP2s below them, in theory. But with the new engine, the car is rumored to be significantly faster, even though there's no real evidence that the car has turned a wheel with the new V8 installed. But on paper, the car is supposed to be at least a little more competitive and not a complete joke. So I hope to see Vanwall back. They're also plotting a 2027 WEC entry. They've apparently been speaking to the ACO about that, and I don't think they're going to get accepted. If you have limited grid slots and you have three teams that want to enter cars and you have to pick two, you have Ford, you have McLaren, and you have Van Wall. Ford and McLaren, both very large, very capable automotive brands that can pour as much money into this program as possible and have a better chance at that car being competitive. Then you have Van Wall, a car that was, frankly, an absolute joke in 2023 and has not been proven as any better, considering that they haven't turned a wheel with their new engine installed. So this Evo kit that they have for the Van Wall 680 is just theoretical at this point. Like, yeah, there's been a show car around showing up at random car shows with a few small changes, but I don't think there's been an actual Van Wall like evolution kit built yet. I don't trust this team because Colin Collis, the boss of this squad, can be a bit of a schemer sometimes. He's not very clear, and he's not necessarily always truthful about his endeavors, and many have actually accused him of being a money laundering operation because there's no way that car can be there's no way that team could be making money if that car's not successful. But yeah, I'm not going to get into that anymore. That's a rumor, but this is the headlines and rumors segment, so I will at least entertain it. Sunoco signed on to partner Chip Ganassi Racing and Kiffin Simpson for the 2026 IndyCar season. This is a very, very nice livery. I really like it. They missed an opportunity to renumber this car the 94 because it's the oh man, where is it? I'm looking at it right now. It's blue and yellow, just like the Sunoco logo. It looks amazing, but Sunoco has this like 94 blend fuel, and it's on the wing. On the back of the wing, it says like 94 special or whatever, and I think they really missed an opportunity to renumber this car 94 instead of the 8. I think Ganassi would have vetoed that anyway. Where's my mouse? But yeah, I think this livery is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I love it. I love it. And something that really came out of left field from the race a couple days ago is kind of buried in an article about why Lando Norris won't drive with the number 1 at the Abu Dhabi tire test at the end of this Formula One season. Lando Norris, of course, is your 2025 World Drivers' Champion, holding off Max Verstappen by just 2 points. What an incredible comeback for Verstappen that just came up a little bit short. F1 Power Rankings on the YouTube side of things will be out very, very shortly. If you want to find us on YouTube, where you can find full show replays, you can go to youtube.com/@TWIRvids. Here's how. Want more racing news and highlights along with full show replays?
241.428 miles an hour.
Head over to the This Week in Racing YouTube channel so you never miss an episode of Cars and Coffee and highlights from your favorite racing series. Just go to youtube.com/@TWIRvids. That's all you can find on the TWIR YouTube channel. You can find full replays of Cars and Coffee going all the way back to last year in case you've missed any of my shows. Moving on to the first actual, proper segment, IMSA released the entry list for the 2026 Rolex 24, and it is stacked. There's still a lot of TBDs, but all of the entries have been confirmed. A full 61-car field. 11 GTPs, 14 LMP2s, I think. That's... Again, if you told someone in 2019, when there were 2 LMP2 entries on the full-time IMSA schedule, that you'd have 14 for the Rolex 24 this year, I don't think they'd believe you. So 11 GTP cars, 14 LMP2s, 15 GTD Pro entries, and the bulk of the field are the 21 GTD cars. So going down the list, starting with GTP, you have the 2 Penske Porsches. There was a rumor that Joseph Newgarden and Scott McLaughlin would be in those cars. They are not. Both the number 6 and number 7 Porsche 963s are 3 drivers. Lawrence Vantor, Kevin Estre, and Matt Campbell in the 6, and Felipe Nasr, Julian Andlauer, and Lauren Heinrich stepping up from AO Racing in the number 7. Cadillac Wayne Taylor Racing is returning with a full, I think it's a completely unchanged lineup, except for the addition of Colton Herta to the number 40 car. Both of those cars are also 3-driver lineups due to the fact that they could not bring Kamui Kobayashi and Brendan Hartley over from Toyota to race in America this year. The 23 Aston Martin Valkyrie is embarking on its first Rolex 24 effort with Roman DeAngelis and Ross Gunn as the full season drivers. Alex Riberas is the Endurance Cup driver, and Marco Sorensen, who is the other driver of the 009 Aston Martin in the World Endurance Championship, he will be coming over as the 4th driver for Daytona. This lineup is stacked, and I really think the Valkyrie has a chance to win. That car is absolutely nuts on straight line speed. You could see it at Petit Le Mans, just came up a couple laps short of catching the 31 at the end of that race. I think the 23, if it can nail its reliability, has a very, very solid chance to be a contender at Daytona. BMW switches service providers from Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing, we'll talk about them later, to Team WRT, who also handles their WEC effort. The 24 car will be piloted by Sheldon Vanderlinde, Dries Vantor, Robin Freins, and Rene Rast. The 25 will be piloted by WEC regular Raffaele Marciello, IMSA driver Philip Eng, Marco Wittmann, and Kevin Magnussen. The Whelen Cadillac, unchanged 3-driver lineup. Their 4th driver is currently listed as TBD on the entry list, but all fingers have been pointing to Connor Zilisch, who was recently robbed of a NASCAR Xfinity title. He will be making his top-level sports car debut with the 31 Cadillac Whelen team. He tested with the team at Daytona and at Circuit of the Americas. I think all of the signs have been pointing to Zilisch being the 4th driver in the Whelen Cadillac. For Acura Meyer-Shank Racing, that's an unchanged lineup, at least for the full season, with Tom Blomqvist and Colin Brown in the 60 car, with Scott Dixon and AJ Allmendinger returning for Daytona, and in the 93 car, you have Nick Yellowly and Ranger van der Zande as the full season drivers, with IndyCar champ Alex Palou as the 3rd Endurance Cup driver, and Kaku Ota, who is currently listed as a TBD in that 4th slot in the 93 car on the official entry list, but MSR announced a couple weeks ago that he will be driving. It's just a paperwork issue, I hear, for getting Kaku Ota on the actual entry list. LMP2, there are 14 cars. There are 12 of them that are running the full season. The 2 extras are from AF Corsa. That's Francois Perotto's car. I really got to do an episode where I go into Francois Perotto's car collection. He has an insane car collection, mostly Ferraris, but he has a lot of very, very interesting cars, and I think that will make an amazing future segment. The other extra car is a second Inter-Europol competition car for their Asian Le Mans Series crew. Other than that, LMP2 looks really stacked, honestly. There are a lot of really good amateur drivers in LMP2. Ben Keating is in the 52 PR1 car, alongside Misha Goikberg. 2 very, very good bronze drivers. I think the only car that has 2 amateur drivers set to drive is that number 52 Brian Herta Autosport with PR1 car. Other than that, you have the 18 Era Motorsport car with a couple of interesting names. Naveen Rao is their amateur driver, experienced in Prototype Challenge. He's been in LMP2s the last couple years. His co-driver, I think, for the full season is Ferdinand Habsburg-Lorraine, the heir to the House of Habsburg that ruled the Austro-Hungarian Empire before World War I. He's one of my favorites simply because of who he is. Like, that's a really funny story that he could have been the heir to one of the Europe's largest empires had it survived World War I, and he's just a race car driver now. That's pretty cool. Indy Next regular James Rowe is the 3rd driver in that car, and Logan Sargent will be running Daytona with the number 18 Era Motorsport crew. Who else is of note in the LMP2 class? Intersport Racing is back after like 12 years gone with a really good lineup of John Field, Oliver Jarvis, Jo Van Oitert, and Seth Lucas. Seth Lucas is far younger than I thought he was. He's only 19. The only car in LMP2 with TBDs is the Team Tonus entry that ran one race last year at Road America. Tonis Kazimets is an Estonian amateur driver. He is not even listed as the driver of his own car. I'd imagine that's going to change. But so I put him on my own copy of the entry list. But there are 3 TBDs. Matthew Brabham was his co-driver at Road America. I believe he comes back because he's not listed anywhere else on this entry list, and he's been dabbling in LMP2 over the last couple years. So I think Matthew Brabham comes back, but really you could take however many drivers there are available and spin a wheel, and you don't know who's going to be in the 61 car. Pratt Miller Motorsports is roughly the same as last year. AO Racing is exactly the same as last year. I still think the lineup for Spike the Dragon is the most stacked because you've got PJ Hyatt, you've got Dane Cameron, you've got Johnny Edgar, who's been everywhere recently, and recent first-time IndyCar winner Christian Rasmussen. So that's really a quick rundown on LMP2. I think it's going to be the most entertaining of the 4 classes. All 14 entries are driving the same Orica 07 Gibson chassis. Moving on to GTD Pro, where there's a lot more parity in terms of cars, you have one Paul Miller Racing entry with a bit of a shuffled driver lineup. The Corvettes stay roughly the same. Triarci Competizione, they showed out great in the Endurance Cup last year in GTD. They have stepped up to the Pro category with some Ferrari factory drivers. I think that's a really dark horse contender. Interestingly enough, there are 2 amateur driver lineups in the GTD Pro category. I don't know why IMSA allows bronze drivers in the GTD Pro category because it kind of defeats the whole purpose of the class, but there are 2 of them. One is the 48 Windward Racing car. Scott Noble is the bronze driver in that car, but the other 3 drivers in that car are all gold or platinum rated. So I think that's why it's still a pro car. And 75 Express, Kenny Habold, the owner of the Sun Energy One energy drink, he will have Mauro Engel and IndyCar star Will Power in that car. That's kind of the Australian crew. Mauro Engel's German, but it's the Australia car. There is one TBD slot as well that it's a coin flip between a Mercedes factory driver and another Australian driver. I wouldn't be surprised if supercar driver Brock Feeney gets that seat because he drove for the team at Indianapolis and it did not go well. I bet he is itching for a second chance. Manti, very respected Porsche tuner, has come over to IMSA with their iconic Grello car, the green and yellow Porsche from the Nürburgring Endurance Series. Ricardo Feller, Thomas Preining, Klaus Bachler, and one to-be-determined driver will pilot that car at Daytona. They also have a GTD class car as well. The interesting, there really aren't a lot of major developments in GTD. The number 36 DXDT Corvette is the one car that doesn't have a confirmed driver. That car was recently at the PRI Auto Show downtown, and it had Robert Wickens' name on the at the top of the door. I imagine Robert Wickens is going to attempt the Rolex 24 with this crew. He did the Sprint Cup races last year with a modified hand control steering wheel. That wouldn't surprise me if he's back for the full season. RS1, who's been in GT3 and GT4 everywhere, that's a Porsche team. They will be here with a Porsche 911 GT3. No other major teams that are making the step up. Muehlner Motorsports America is back after running prototypes a couple years ago. They are back with a Porsche. Manti First Form is back with their World Endurance Championship crew. Dragon Speed has switched to a Chevrolet Corvette. Who else? I believe that's it for major changes. Riley Motorsports has also left LMP2 and has gone back to a GTD class Mustang with a very good lineup. Sheena Monk is their bronze driver, so they will have a chance at the Bob Aiken Award for the best bronze driver in the GTD class. That would grant them an invite to the 24 Hours of Le Mans with their brand new Ford Mustang GT3. They also have Felipe Fraga, a longtime regular of the team, Jensen Altman, who's a Ford Academy driver, and Roman Grosjean, who has recently left his contract with Lamborghini and may have an IndyCar ride. I talked about that a little bit last show, but Romain Grosjean might have an IndyCar ride. He might not. He is the lead candidate to take that final open spot at Dale Coyne Racing. Those are the real major headlines on the Rolex 24 entry list. I will post the whole thing to Instagram, at least with my edits and filling in of TBDs that aren't really TBDs. I will post the whole thing to Instagram and to Twitter so you guys can take a look at it. Go follow the Instagram at carsandcoffee_WHJE so you can look at that and get in touch with the show and receive notifications when shows get uploaded to YouTube. We have a really stacked entry list for the Rolex 24. I'm very excited. I can't wait for the end of January to see all 61 of these cars get unleashed around the high banks of Daytona International Speedway. We are going to take a quick song break. We will be right back here on Cars and Coffee. Here on 91.3 WHJE, my name is Nathan Ward. Here's February 7 by the Avett Brothers. Don't go away. Cars and Coffee will be right back on 91.3 WHJE. Hi, if you're listening to this, that means you're listening to a replay of today's show. I just want to say thank you for listening and make sure to subscribe to the This Week in Racing YouTube channel so you never miss another episode of Cars and Coffee, along with highlights from your favorite motorsport series. If you're listening on the WHJE website, go to youtube.com/@TWIRvids. If you're listening to this on YouTube, just click the button below. Thank you so much for listening. Now, let's get back to the show. We now return to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. Welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. I'm going to debut a new segment where I just go on racecarsforyou.com, which is a great site to just browse interesting cars that are for sale, and pick a featured listing and talk about the car and just what makes it cool. So this week I picked the Elan DP02 Mazda. If you crossed a Champ car with a Le Mans prototype, you would get this car, a single-seat, closed-wheel prototype that you can own for a surprisingly cheap $70,000. The car was first introduced in the IMSA Lights Championship in 2006, powered by a 2-liter Mazda 4-cylinder engine, the precursor to what would become the Mazda DPI engine. The DP02 saw competition in the series and its successor, the IMSA Prototype Challenge, all the way until 2018 when they were finally phased out entirely in favor of LMP3 cars. The IMSA Prototype Challenge has since become the VP Racing Sports Car Challenge and has added multiple other classes. The cars were either sold by teams after this point or kept by gentleman drivers for use in historic racing. The listing doesn't show any history of this car, numbered number 22. It's also hard to do any research because the car could have possibly been renumbered for historic racing and it doesn't carry the required IMSA decals anymore. The seller is Brett O'Neill, the owner of Performance Tech Motorsports, who have had years and years of experience in lower prototype categories and in IMSA. The car comes with a package of spares and 2 extra sets of tires, a great addition to any gentleman driver's historic racing collection. This is one of my personal favorite cars. If you crossed like a Formula 3 car and a Le Mans prototype, you would get this car. The DP02 is it's very silly looking, and I love it. This car was originally there were 3 separate classes of this car in IMSA Prototype Lights, all with different size Mazda engines. The L1 cars, the Lights 1 cars, were kept in the MPC, Mazda Prototype Challenge class of the IMSA Lights series when it became Prototype Challenge and added LMP3 cars. So it served as a secondary category for the last major chunk of its life, but it was still very, very popular among gentleman drivers because of how cheap it was and how easily drivable it was. Because essentially, like if you look at this car, it's a single-seater with fenders, but it's still a very, very neat, a very, very silly-looking car, and it's a very, very cheap car for a prototype, at least. Performance Tech Motorsports do have a large history in IMSA prototype racing, not just in MPC with these cars. They've raced in the Prototype Challenge category in IMSA, not the series, but the class with a different set of cars. I'm going to have to go over that at some point, too. Man, every time I go on a tangent on this show, I find something new to do another segment about, so I gotta write that down somewhere. there was also a prototype challenge category in IMSA using different cars that were more powerful. Performance Tech won multiple championships in that category as well before moving to LMP2 cars. They have since bowed out of IMSA over the last couple years, but they seem to be still functioning and selling their cars, and hopefully they will come back soon in any capacity, in LMP3s most likely. But they've been a stalwart of the IMSA series for many, many, many years, and this Elan DPO2, one of their big fleet of them, I remember them running as many as 5 cars in Prototype Challenge when these things were still running. One of those can be yours for a cool $70,000, which I saw this listing and I'm like, whoa, that is really cheap for a prototype. But comes with an engine, 2 extra sets of wheels, an extra rear deck, spare clutch, springs, lots of other stuff. It's a great deal. These cars are very, very popular in the HSR series, the historic sports car racing championship, where all manner of classic prototypes are run. The DPO2 is a fan favorite because it's a driver favorite because of how cheap it is. It's a very inexpensive way to dip your toes into the world of prototype racing. It's a very easy car to drive, from what I've heard. It's essentially an F3 car with fenders. It's a very, very silly looking car, and I thought I would talk a little bit about it here. We are going to go back to a quick song break here on 91.3 WHJE before we hit our final segment of this week's episode of Cars and Coffee, finally talking about what we really know about the 2028 IndyCar chassis. We will be right back. Here's Heartache Tonight by the Eagles. Don't go away. Cars and Coffee will be right back on 91.3 WHJE. Hi, if you're listening to this, that means you're listening to a replay of today's show. I just want to say thank you for listening, and make sure to subscribe to the This Week in Racing YouTube channel so you never miss another episode of Cars and Coffee, along with highlights from your favorite motorsport series. If you're listening on the WHJE website, go to youtube.com/@TWIRvids. If you're listening to this on YouTube, just click the button below. Thank you so much for listening. Now, let's get back to the show. We now return to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. Welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. Our final segment of the day. We finally have actual proof that the 2028 IndyCar is real. Hallelujah! According to Racer.com and Dallara, the Dallara IR28, the next generation IndyCar chassis is taking shape and will hopefully be revealed around the 2026 Indianapolis 500. We have now a little bit of a visual clue to what this car will look like, because Racer put a silhouette of it as the thumbnail for their article. I think it looks pretty good, honestly. Just from this little silhouette that we have, the nose is higher, the aero screen is more square, but it still looks good. We'll get back to the aero screen later. The aero surfaces look better, the roll hoop looks better. Everything, while not diverging a ton from the look of the Universal Aero Kit, you really don't need to fix what isn't broken, you just need to make it look cooler. According to Racer, the outer visuals of the car show nothing completely striking. The design intended to be strong and durable and long-lasting, similar to the DW12. The original design of the IR28 was received quite negatively by team owners. If you go back to last year, I remember talking about it when this news first broke, and apparently team owners were saying it just looked like a DW12 with the wing of a Formula 2 car. And I'm very glad that they changed that, because it looks way better now than that statement led on. The IR28 will live in the same dimensions as the current chassis, but they are focusing more on raceability and affordability, and a complete redesign was done using computational fluid dynamics over the last year and a half, resulting in a completely new aero kit. As I just mentioned, the IR28 will live roughly within the same dimensions as the current chassis. The car won't get any longer, shorter, wider, or skinnier. The biggest change will be to the dimensions of the monocoque, the actual tub that the driver sits in. If you've ever heard these cars referred to as bathtubs with wheels, this is kind of why. From the IR05 to the DW12, the tub was lengthened to make room for taller drivers like Ryan Hunter-Reay, Graham Rahal, and the late Justin Wilson, and his brother Stefan, for that matter. Stefan's like 6'3", I think. He's huge. The width of the DW12 was still not enough for comfort, evidenced by Graham Rahal saying that there has been blood like seeping through the elbows of his driving suits because he's hitting his elbows when he's steering. His arms are scraping against the side of the tub. With the IR28, him and other taller drivers like Stingray Robb were brought in to assist with the same process. The tub itself is slightly wider to give you a little more elbow room, and with the revised dimensions locked in, the rest of the car was designed. Other major confirmed changes from this article include that the aeroscreen and halo will be built into the tub itself rather than be a bolt-on component, because this car, a DW12, was not built with the intention of having a halo attached to it. It was a kind of, not a last-second thing, but it was not within the original plans because that hadn't really been brought to the forefront of safety discussion yet, having head protection for the driver. But that debuted in 2020, and the big issue with it, at least aesthetically, is that it was bolt-on. The I don't know what to call it. The upside of that is that if the car is upside down and the aeroscreen obstructs the ability of the driver to get out, they can just take the aeroscreen off. That, I believe, will be maintained, or at least attempted to be maintained, but the driver may have to still climb around the halo if the car is upside down. Usually, at least like with Kyle Kirkwood's crash at Indy a couple years ago, they just flipped the car over and had him get out. But in other cases, that may not be the circumstance, but I'm interested to see how that will work from a safety perspective. The aeroscreen will be bolted to the tub itself, at least the halo will, and the aeroscreen will be wrapped around it. Dampers, which are the one thing that teams really have the complete freedom of doing whatever they want within the rules, those look like they're going to become spec parts, and the Dallara team has undergone an effort to eliminate dirty air compared, like, from the old aero kit that the teams didn't like to the new one that has been locked in for the car. The last major change of note is the enlargement of the bell housing to fit a larger hybrid system, i.e. making the hybrid actually useful. The layout will remain the same as the current car. The hybrid will not be tub-mounted as a lot of people may have wanted it to be, more integrated into the car or into the engine. It's just kind of there, but at least it'll give you more power. It's still going to be heavy, but at least the design of this car will account for the fact that it's built with a hybrid. Because the problem with the DW12 is that it was not built for a hybrid. This car, first and foremost, is built around that hybrid system, so you can still add the weight and eliminate the weight from other places on the car and still get good weight balance, good drivability, good handling, and a favorable weight distribution for the drivers. The layout will remain the same as the current car, but the hybrid will be more useful, long-lasting, and more integrated into the IR28 than the DW12. I can't believe I'm actually sitting here and talking about the next generation IndyCar. 2 years ago, I don't think that would have happened. We were so far from any meaningful information about the new car that some people were actually thinking that we'd continue with the DW12 for the next 20 years. No one at that time had like any faith in the sport, but ever since Fox has come in, they've done I don't think this is completely a Fox effort, but ever since IndyCar has finally had some faith put in them again from their broadcaster, they've actually had the the desire or the faith in themselves to go out, do something ambitious like making a new car. With the charter agreements, the teams have money now. The teams get a share of the TV money. They're making more. They're going to be able to pay for a new car. That's all huge, and I think we're getting to a point where it's getting really, really fun to be an IndyCar fan, to look forward to the future, because we finally can. We have something to look forward to. The last thing that we need, and I'm going to keep saying this till it happens, the last thing we need is another superspeedway. Because I still believe, even with the hybrid, superspeedway racing and oval racing in general is the best racing we have on the calendar right now. And I'm not saying that in terms of crashes. I'm not necessarily saying crashes equals good racing, because that's not true. That's just not true all the time. Yes, good racing leads to more crashes, because cars are closer, there's more opportunity to make a mistake, and in general, there's just higher risk involved with closer racing. And closer racing is just what we call better. Other than that, it's looking very, very good for IndyCar right now. You have new events this year in Arlington, and you're going back to Phoenix. I still have a little bit of hope for Phoenix. I really hope people go out there, buy like double tickets for NASCAR and IndyCar. Do something. Keep an oval on the schedule. You did it with Milwaukee. You couldn't do it with Iowa, but Iowa really, that track, there's nothing around it. So without Hy-Vee having all these concerts and fairs and things, that's just not an attractive event. And I think what Penske is looking for are attractive events like Arlington. You're going to be in the parking lot of Jerry World. You can put whatever you want inside the stadium or on other parts of the parking lot. You have a lot of space to work with at AT&T Stadium. You don't really have that to work with in the middle of a field in Iowa. And that's something that is absolutely understandable. You need to make money. You need to have attractive events. And I think IndyCar is doing a great job. I think Markham's going to succeed. I think that that track is going to be very fun. I think the race is going to be good. I think it's going to be very good for the town. I think it's going to be good for everybody involved. I think a lot of people are going to show up to a new track and kind of hopefully reinvigorate Canadian interest in IndyCar. Toronto was packed this past year. I'm not the biggest fan of the exhibition place circuit, so seeing a new circuit come on, at least for the Canadian race, is going to be a nice change of scenery. I really like the look of the track, and I really hope that it lends itself to good racing. But overall, it's a very good time to be an IndyCar fan, and I can't wait to be talking about it over the next few months before the IndyCar circus rolls up to St. Pete at the end of February. That will be it for the final Cars and Coffee before we head off on winter break here at Carmel High School. To everyone listening, good luck on your finals. Good luck for teachers listening. Good luck on getting your grades done. Hopefully everyone finishes strong and has a wonderful holiday, a wonderful new year. I will see you in 2026. Thank you for listening. My name is Nathan Ward, and I will see you next year. Here's Bang Bang by Green Day.